What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian, and today we're talking my favorite keyboards of 2023. Now, there's a ton of keyboards out there. I specifically have a ton of mechanical keyboards, but this is more specifically going to be the ones that I think are best overall for the things that I'm doing, which are programming, development, creating things, editing, and some gaming. To start it all off is going to be a very controversial opinion, but it's the Magic Keyboard. This is one of my favorite keyboards of all time. Probably my most generic standard go-to keyboard would be the Magic Keyboard. As a heavy Mac user, it's one of my favorite things to use on the daily. So everybody knows what the Magic Keyboard is, comes in at 99 bucks, connects via Bluetooth, and it's basically the flattest, no incline keyboard you're ever gonna find. The key travel is also extremely minimal. There's basically none. It feels like they're butterfly keyboards from 2017, except it actually works. It doesn't break over time. I personally actually really enjoy the key travel, the way the keys feel and sound, which is weird coming from somebody who also appreciates mechanical keyboards. There's just something about working on the Magic Keyboard that makes me feel like I'm being more productive or efficient. Whether or not that's true or not, it just makes me feel good when I'm typing on it. Now, if you've ever used a Magic Keyboard, you know the battery life on these things is 5 months. There is no backlight, so there's really no battery drain there, and these things just last forever. Now, the one that I have here is using the old Lightning connector. I don't believe there's a USB-C version yet, but with them switching over to USB-C, if there isn't one yet, there's obviously going to be one in the future. Now, there's really not a lot to say about this keyboard because it's just very bare bones. It looks very minimal, very clean, which is the aesthetic that I go for anyways. So everything about it is actually perfect. There is no height adjustment, so that one very extreme slim profile is all you get. The MX Keys Mini is probably the closest competitor to the Magic Keyboard. If you're looking in this space, this is probably something you've looked at before. This thing comes in at $110 and it's a very similar form factor to the Magic Keyboard in the sense that it has a very low profile to it. It has the very minimal aesthetic of the aluminum and the gray and white keycaps, and overall this looks very Apple. In terms of the height of the keyboard, there are no adjustments. You basically just get the rubber feet on the bottom with a little bit of an incline, but that's pretty much all you get. There's no way to adjust it. This thing does come in 4 different colors if you want to. There's pink, gray, graphite, or black. And one of my favorite features about this keyboard is that it has the option to connect to 3 different Bluetooth devices at once, and then you can swap between which one you're actually giving input to using the buttons in the top left corner. I think that's a pretty cool feature, something that makes it more useful to me who works on multiple devices at a time. That's a pretty cool thing to have. Now, this does connect through USB-C, so you can charge the keyboard that way, and you can also use it hardwired if you want to. If you want to have it plugged in all the time, you can totally do that too. Logitech says this gets 10 days of battery life with the backlight on, or 5 months of battery life with the backlight off, so very similar battery life to the Magic Keyboard. They also say that there's some sensors on here so it can detect when you're getting close to it, so it can turn the backlight on and off if you walk away, so you're not draining battery. So that's kind of a cool feature too. Now, in terms of the actual keys, they do have a little bit more travel than the Magic Keyboard. There's still not a ton of travel. It's kind of just like every membrane keyboard you've ever used. It kind of feels about similar key travel to that. The keys are actually interesting themselves because they're kind of this matte rubbery material, which feel really good to type on. And then the main keys, not the function keys, but all the rest of them, have an indent in the keys, so just a little bit more comfortable for your fingers to rest, kind of find where the key is a little bit easier if you're not looking at it. So yeah, overall, I actually really like the aesthetic of this thing and the way that it looks and feels. The cool thing is that this is actually built for Mac, so you see a lot of Mac adjacent things on here. There's specific function keys for things like opening the emoji keyboard, because that's a super important function. But you also got your function, your commands, your option keys, very Mac-esque buttons on this keyboard because it's dedicated for that. The MX Keys Mechanical is the bigger brother to the MX Keys Mini, and essentially it is the MX Keys Mini in a mechanical keyboard format. So when you're on the website and you're actually going to order this thing, you can choose between clicky, tactile, or linear switches. They don't actually say what brand these switches are. I'm assuming there's some like Logitech branded switches anyways, so it probably won't mean much. This thing comes in at $150, which is a pretty good deal considering it's a fully mechanical keyboard with an aluminum casing, and it looks very minimal and just, like I said, my aesthetic. It fits it perfectly. This thing also does have the backlight, the smart backlight, just like the MX Mini. It's, can tell and detect when you get close to it, turn it on. So you get the same kind of battery life. So 15 days on a full charge with the backlight on, or 10 months with the backlight off. So a little bit of a jump from the MX Keys original one, but it's a bigger form factor, so it kind of makes sense. This features a lot of the other things also from the MX Mini. It has the 3 Bluetooth devices all at once that you can connect to. It has the function keys dedicated to things like opening the emoji keyboard, but it also has things like dedicated function keys on the right side of the keyboard, which the MX Keys Mini does not have. There's also a height adjustment on this keyboard. So you have the default one that it comes with, which is just using like rubber feet on the bottom, but they also adjust 1 time so you can make them a little bit taller if you want to, get a little bit more of an incline, which to me, I actually don't like the inclined version. It's a little bit too high, so I find myself using the normal flat version of this. I just think it fits my wrists a little bit better, feels a little bit more comfortable, but there's the option there if you want it. Something I found interesting about the design of this though was that it's very hard to see, and I actually didn't notice it at first, but all of the main keys are white, kind of, because F1 through 4 are also white, and F9 through 12, and the arrow keys are white. All the other like specialty keys, escape, delete, return, command, option, space, all of those are like a light gray. And it's very, very hard to see to the point where I almost didn't see it. But yeah, there is like a weird kind of two-tone color scheme going on, but very subtle. This also has the USB-C port, just like the MX Mini. Essentially, it's like the same keyboard in mechanical format. And I find myself preferring the MX Mini, the original one, over the mechanical when I'm using my MacBook. It just feels wrong for some reason to type on a mechanical keyboard when using my MacBook. I just don't feel like I'm as fast, especially when I'm doing development, but I still like the option of having the mechanical one just because I'm such a mechanical keyboard fan in other areas. Speaking of mechanical keyboards, the GK61 is essentially going to be the most entry-level way to get into keyboards, which is why it's on this list. These things are like $50. You can find them everywhere. Every listing on Amazon is going to have some version of this thing. They come in different names, so like GK61, SK61, HK61. They're basically all versions of the GK61, just rebranded for different companies, but essentially are all the same keyboard at the end of the day. So the reason the GK61 is on this list is because it's so bare bones. It's a great way for people to get into keyboards, and it's the way that I got into mechanical keyboards myself. These things are hot swappable. They're customizable to an extent. So of course you can change out the keycaps, switches, they're hot swappable, but some people have even gone as far as to switch out base plates, put in sound dampening foam. So you can really take these things to the limit if you want to, but also if you just want to get into mechanical keyboards or see if you like them, it's a great way to get into them without spending a ton of money on a super premium keyboard. They connect through USB-C, and there's a ton of backlighting options. And I say that kind of hesitantly because it's all like preset stuff. So you can do different styles and effects. And, when you push a button, it explodes out, or, lights going across, those kind of things. But there's not really software to customize these things any more than that. There's just like the preset ones that you get with the keyboard itself. Now, like with my MX Mechanical Mini, I also got red switches on this. Red switches are pretty much the only switch I'll use nowadays. I just think they sound and feel the best, but you can find different configurations with different switches of this keyboard just because there's so many out there. And last on the list is going to be the most expensive, most premium board that I have. and that's my GMMK Pro coming in at $350. So the GMMK Pro, if you don't know, is fully customizable. It's from a company called Glorious, and they basically offer everything you could ever imagine. You can customize faceplates, keycaps, switches. You can customize the stabilizers. You can customize the entire casing if you want to. There's a rotary knob you can change the color of. I've changed mine to gold. It used to be, I think, like a silver or like a white. I just thought the gold is like a little bit more of like a cool touch to it, but you can basically customize everything you'd ever want to do on this keyboard. Now, the reason it's $350 is partially because of the customizability, but also because it is a fully machined aluminum case. It's extremely heavy, it feels heavy, and it feels really premium. It also connects through USB-C, and Glorious has their own software where you can customize everything on the software side. There's also RGB on the side of the keyboard, so you can customize in the software the RGB on the side. You can customize the RGB under each key. You can customize the hotkeys, and there's even different layers, so you can pretty much do whatever you want with this board. Now, this is my daily driver. This is the keyboard I use every single day. It's sitting on my desk right over there, and it's the keyboard that I game on. I do everything except for programming on this keyboard. My rotary knob is set up to control volume, so if you twist it right, it increases the volume. If you twist it left, decreases it, and then you can push it in to toggle muting the sound entirely. Now, this keyboard is also interesting, and you'll find this with a lot of higher end expensive keyboards, is there is no height adjustment. So this, like I said, fully machined aluminum case, there is nothing on the bottom to adjust the incline of that case. It basically is what it is. Now, this is also not an expensive keyboard relative to how expensive keyboards can get. You can get a Mode keyboard for $700 without even trying, but the way that I always phrase this is the GK61 is a great way to get into mechanical keyboards in the first place. The GMMK Pro is a great way to get into higher end customizable keyboards without spending a ton of money. And a ton of money is relative, $350, but I'm not spending $700 on a Mode keyboard before I really know. Now that I've had this for 2 years, I can see myself doing it, but I was able to test it out before I did that. And that's going to be a quick roundup of my favorite keyboards of 2023. I basically use all of these things pretty regularly. Obviously, the GMMK Pro is my most daily regular, but I have pretty good experience with all of them. So if you want to know anything else, let me know in the comments. I want to do another video of a more head-to-head of the Magic Keyboard versus the two Logitech keyboards, because I feel like those are the two or the three options that people really look at for MacBooks. So I'm going to do a deeper dive on those in a little bit. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.